It is Thursday, 4 p.m. in Central Europe and 5 p.m. in Israel, and it's Space Café Israel time. Our Space Café Israel by Meidad Pariente with his guest, the legendary Arie Halsband, will begin soon. As always, we appreciate your participation and ongoing feedback, and we will learn and improve based on your feedback. I'm Thorsten Greening, publisher of SpaceWatch.Global, and we are a Europe-based online platform for information in and about space and new space activities in a geopolitical context. I would like to thank, on that occasion, all our private and corporate supporters that showed their commitment to keep more independent journalism alive. We really appreciate that. And if you want to be part of the supporter team, just a click away from our website. I know many of you are familiar with our website, our bi-weekly and our daily newsletters, and the Space Café podcasts. The latest one, just released on Tuesday, features Markus Moslechner's conversation with Matt Russo, an astrophysicist and sound wizard, the surprising appeal of sounds from space. And that's really absolute worth to listen to. It's super crazy, and I can tell you it's a roller coaster. So we also have new exciting episodes of our Space Café radios, the short form podcasts. The latest episode with the CTO of Endurosat in Bulgaria, Viktor Danchev, on the Toliman mission. Pretty cool insight as well. And with Andreas Lindenthal, a review about the latest Munich security conference. And if you don't done that yet, please check out our other fresh podcasts, the Space Economy Insights by Kevin O'Connell and Dr. Emma Gatti, with her first guest, Claire Jolie of the OECD. And our fan shop, the last point, is always open on our website, just a click away, that you can become a real space watcher. And if you missed any of our previous episodes, there's an archive on our website and on YouTube. And with that, I'm almost hand over to your host not in Tel Aviv, but near Tel Aviv, in Israel. Your host of the Space Café Israel, Mr. Senor Pariente. Meidad, over to you.
Thank you very much, Thorsten. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Space Café Israel, episode 9. My guest today is Mr. Arie Halsband. Arie is one of the founders and the pillars of the Israeli space industry. He joined Israel Aerospace Industries' newly formed space entity in the mid-80s. He went from being a team leader to manage this business line as a director and later as IAI Space Division General Manager. Arie left IAI in late 2011 to found a new space startup, and in 2013 incorporated Effective Space Solutions to develop and sell in-orbit services and space logistics offering. Arie led the company as its CEO from the concept phase to mature its services. In 2020, Arie merged Effective Space into Astroscale, a leading global new space company focused on space sustainability, with headquarters in Japan and offices in the US, UK, and Israel. Until recently, led the company as its managing director. Arie is now a senior advisor to Astroscale. And today's discussion will be about moving from the classical space industry to new space. Welcome, Arie.
Thank you, Meidad, for the opportunity to talk here.
Glad to have you here. I think we should start and disclose the fact that we know each other for many, many years, and I had the pleasure of working with you both in IAI and in Effective Space Solutions. And I would like to start with the same question I ask all my guests. Arie, what is the one thing that nobody knows about you? It's not on your CV or something that can be found in LinkedIn, and you think that the audience should know about.
Well, I'm not sure that nobody knows, but I'm an enthusiastic about history. I read history books as a hobby, And I think that history may teach us a lot about events, about stressing situations, how people behaved in such situations. Did it help them or so? So it's kind of a hobby, but I enjoy it and try to take lessons to my real life.
Interesting. And do you think that your hobby as a historian had any impact on your career?
I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
I don't know. You never know what make an impact, but this is part of me.
Interesting. You know, only a few people retire from a defense company and embark on a new adventure as a founder of a new space company. What were the reasons that made you make that change?
Well, first of all, when you speak about few people, was the situation in Israel in 2011 when I retired from IAI. The ecosystem was very small, and I think I was the only one that retired as a manager and established a space company at that time. But during the time and meeting many people abroad, many in the UK, which is people are moving very quickly from one position to another. I met many entrepreneurs coming from big companies like SSTL and others that established their own companies. So I'm not alone, but maybe I'm alone in Israel for that. For my personal reasons, firstly, I was always looking for new areas. Even at IAI, I didn't, in my career at IAI, I didn't stay at the same table all the years that I had been at IAI. Some people that started with me 40 years ago at IAI or 37 years ago was stuck on the same position. I moved from one position to another, and I left IAI, returned to IAI. And I was always looking for new areas and new things to do. And I wanted to find my way after reaching saturation at IAI. Overall, I managed the space business line for almost a decade in 2 terms, and I reached saturation. So I wanted to experience the pace of doing things in the private industry, how it is done without the need to report to many hierarchies above you and all the regulations in a big company. And I think that I achieved it in the new space sector.
So it was saturation from one side and the stingling of being your own boss that led you to make this change, going from a very well-established position to start fresh in a new region?
Yeah, I think that's several factors. One of them is the saturation. The other that I wanted to experience working in a small company, trying to do something by my own. And this was the combination of facts that led me to start my new career as an entrepreneur.
Interesting. I'm taking you back now. Let me take you back to the beginning of your career. You made your first career steps as a mechanical engineer. Does this background help you as an entrepreneur?
Well, first of all, being an entrepreneur is something inside you. I know electrical engineers, system engineers that started as let's say, as employees and are still employees and then start their own career. So you need to have something inside you that wants you to be an entrepreneur. But if speaking about engineering, so first of all, any engineering discipline that you learn has a lot of, you study first general engineering stuff like mathematics, physics, other disciplines. So any engineer can handle other disciplines and can learn by himself additional stuff. Nobody taught me space engineering when I learned engineering in the 70s. So I had to learn it by myself. And I was always interested in the system level and what is to do with the system level and not to do at the component level and the detail design, even though I did detail design and I was quite good at that, I must say. I give you an example. In my early career at IAI, I worked for a company, a subsidiary of IAI called Precision Mechanism Limited, which was then dissolved into another division. And I was the only design engineer over there, and I had to deliver a component, a mechanism for aerospace. So actually, I had to design everything: mechanical engineering, thermal engineering, everything by myself. So, so this was one experience I did on doing everything. Now, mechanical engineering by itself has a lot to do with system engineering. For example, the configuration of a satellite is tightly close to a lot of system engineering considerations. The system installation is also the same. So I think that mechanical engineering is a good start being a system engineer. And also I took courses of system engineering for 2 years, 6 semesters in the 90s, which helped me then in my career to understand the system engineering, being a director for space and so on.
When you started fresh as an entrepreneur, you had to do also not only management, but engineering stuff, design, and so on. Were you happy to go back to tasks of actual engineering and design decisions and not just managing stuff and financing?
I don't know. I think that first of all, in my career at IAI, I was doing a lot of budgeting and so on. As a division manager, I had to do a lot of budgeting, manpower decisions. So this was not far away from me. So the decision of what is unique in a small company that you need to do everything. Nobody actually helps you, and you need to do everything. And so you need to know how to ask people, to find someone to ask, to consult with. So this is something that is very unique in a small company. You need to do everything from budget to timeline to bring people along. You don't have an HR specialist. So this is something which is very unique in a small company. And my background in different roles and different divisions helped me to do that.
Later on, and before you became the general manager of MBT Space, you spent 3 significant years managing the IAI subsidiary in Singapore. What are the top 3 things you've learned from this experience?
Well, to mention just 3, so first,
you can go on with 5 or 10, whatever you want.
3 is enough. 3 is enough. So the first is that I was acquainted in my preparation to the job, and during the job, I was acquainted to the vast amount of technologies and systems that AI is developing and selling, because this is part of the job. So I was going from, before I went to Singapore, I was going from one division manager to the other and to the marketing teams, and learned each division, and about 18 or 20 at a time. What are they doing? What are the technologies? What are the products? What is unique? What is the edge? And give you a very good view of different technologies like radar, missiles, UAVs, everything you can think of. And this gives you a very good, let's say, overview of technologies that I later used or had the privilege to know. So this was first. Second, working very closely with the customer in his country, not to visit them occasionally, but meeting customers over and over again. You learn to know the customer sensitivities, and you develop more intimate relations with the customers, so he's more open. So you learn the customer sensitivities, the way he thinks, how to approach customers. This helped me later to approach customers at Effective Space, to sign a significant contract, and also to deal with investors. Investors can also be regarded as customers, because they are your customers to bring money. So you need to approach them as a customer to understand the way of thinking, and what is the edge that you bring to them. Is exactly like selling something to a customer. I think this was another point. And the third is to learn and know and appreciate other business cultures. So this helped me later to negotiate with customers, and also to deal with SSTL as a global company, because SSTL as a global company has many cultures. Japanese, US, we are subsidiary to the SSTL US, but let's say the founder is Japanese, and staff are Japanese. So I think that going out of the box of the Israeli ecosystem and working abroad is very important to someone that wants to work in the global industry.
Great. It's very interesting to think about investors as customers. Great point. What was the major shock of being an Israeli that lives in Singapore? What was the main thing that really changed in you during your years in Singapore?
Well, first of all, I wouldn't say it was always a shock. It was a pleasure. Singapore is a great place to live. It's very friendly for expats. It was between 2003 and 2006. I don't know what is the situation now. So it's an English-speaking country. Everything is handled in English, so it's very difficult. It's very easy for everyone, and regulations are actually built in order to accept expats and to be a global place. So I don't think that I had any shocking experience. On the other hand, it was an interesting experience, open-minded experience, but not a shocking experience. The food is great. I learned to eat with sticks, and but overall, I remember it as a very pleasing experience.
Great. Sticks and of course, I guess also spicy food.
Spicy food. Never too spicy in Singapore, yes.
Yeah.
Can always be more spicy.
You mentioned the decade you were a general manager, and this decade was during peak years for MBT Space, with launch of 3 space missions in 1 year in 2008. This must have been very challenging. So what challenges do you consider the toughest that you had to cope with during this time?
Well, I must say that the toughest period I had was not in that time that you are referring to, but in my period as a director of space technologies. That was actually the same entity, but with a different name before we became a space division. And I reached to this position in '98, and the directorate was very small. Was handling one program at a time. They didn't even have a multi-year budget. It was going from 1 year to the other. And in 2 years, we had to grow from this partial program into four full-scale programs. And we had to more than double the amount of people working for us. And this was in the middle of the dot-com bubble. I don't know if you remember.
Of course.
This was a madness. This was a madness. No, we couldn't bring any engineer. All the engineers that we talked to wanted to have options. Israel aerospace industry, as a government-owned industry, couldn't, of course, grant any options. So the second questions were, are you granting options? No, we are not granting options. Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye. So we couldn't bring any engineer. It was very tough. And the deputy CEO at the time, Arie, the late Arie, was coming to me about twice a month to see how many people we managed to bring over. And so it was madness. Just an example, we once interviewed someone that claimed that he's a communication engineer. And after the interview, my partner, that expert communication engineer, said, and I'm quoting, that the candidate only relation to communication is that occasionally he's speaking on the phone. So this was the madness that we had over there. Now, for your question on the period that we had to launch, this was 2008. And we launched 3 satellites in a very short time. One of them was MO3, that you was the chief engineer there. And it was a real pleasure. And the issue is that we worked as a matrix, and the customers were very close, and they knew exactly who are the people are working for any program and so on. And I had to manage the resources and the stakeholders, and to negotiate the resources with the stakeholders, and how I direct the resources in order to fully answer the 3 programs at a time. All of them at IIT at the same time, launched in a very short time. So this was this required many negotiation skills in order to bring it into launch on time, but we succeeded.
Yeah, all 3 missions were successful. Yes. How was the transition from a high-rank manager of NBT Space to a founder of a space startup. What took you by surprise and requested a mindset adjustment going from classic space industry to new space?
Well, okay, so first of all, I was ready for that. So I was ready to start a new company, and to start with, I declare that I'm giving up all the status symbols of AI. You know, in a big corporation, there are many symbol status. Some of them are, they give you symbol titles because they don't want to give you money. But so first of all, I declare that I know how to make my own coffee. I don't need someone to make me a coffee. I know how to pick up a phone, and I know how to set my meetings at the Outlook. So this sorts to start with. And we worked together, and it was a very small team. And I came back to the engineering side, which was a pleasure for me. Maybe I did it too often. But the main benefit that I met was the making quick decisions and execute them. If you remember, very shortly after we started, we defined a market survey for a life extension in geo. And I think in 2 or 3 weeks, we defined the market survey, and we set out a contract with a company to do a market survey for us. This is something which is unthinkable at IEI and a big corporation. It could take a half a year of discussions with the headquarters, with the stakeholders. Why do you need it? Why does it cost so much? Someone else will do the negotiation for you. So at the end, it usually doesn't happen. So this is something that we could do in a small company. And in 6 months, we reach PDR. This is a pace that can never happen in a big company. So these are the upside of working in a small company. You make your own decisions, and investors are not actually taking a part in the day-to-day management and the processes that you have to do. Also, venture capital investors are interested in risk-taking. So once you take risks in a startup, this is actually what they are looking for, because venture capital investors are looking for growth, and taking risks are actually the path to go. So this is something that is very typical for startups and venture capitals. Now, on the other hand, there are the downside. So in a big company, once you manage to persuade the management, upper management, to start a program, so you usually have the funding for it. You don't need to fund it. You have the full funding for the program until the end. In a small company, a startup, you need to go and bring money from additional rounds all the time, and someone you fail to bring additional money. So this is let's say the bad thing about startup that you need to manage, and you could expect.
You said you were prepared, and you had this mindset. Still, I want to ask, did you discover something that you didn't expect, or prepared yourself to in this new space realm that required a mindset change, leaving your old way of thinking and adopting a new way of thinking?
I'm not sure. I think that at the end of the day, even in a big company, if you want someone to follow you, you need to speak to your employees, to your team. And at the end of the day, you work as a team. As a big manager, you work with the major management team, and then your manager has a team and so on. So you have layers in the company. So you need to work with your team and to convince them that this is the right way to hear them and to make the right decisions after open negotiations. So this is the way of leadership. Doesn't change if you are a manager in a big team or a small team, a big company or a small company. So I think that this way of managing is, which I always wanted to do and try to do, is doesn't change actually. And this is the most important factor in managing people, in my view.
Okay, so no ranks, flat organization, that open door approach.
Yes.
Everybody can talk to everybody.
Yes. This is very important in any organization to keep an open door policy.
That's a good policy. I like it a lot. You gave your role as CEO of SSTL Israel and moved to an advisor position. Was this a natural step for you? Do you advise other founders to follow in your footsteps?
Well, first of all, yes. After some years, you need to go on. And overall, I manage this business line of Lex Life Extension almost 10 years. From when I started to work on it, and if you remember, we had to work together on slides in 2012 already. So it's about 10 years that I worked on that together. If I take before establishing Effective Space, within Effective Space at SSTL is almost 10 years. And so I think that I've reached maturing at SSTL Israel after finalizing the deal between SSTL and Effective Space, and started working as SSTL Israel in mid of 2020, mid of the COVID, which was very experience by itself to do everything over the internet. So we worked 2.5 years. I worked 2.5 years as a managing director of SSTL Israel. In that time, we grew the company more than 5 times, from 8 staff to more than 40. We've established a very strong and skilled mechanism group. We grown the RPO, Rendezvous and Proximity Operation Group. We established infrastructure like a clean room to assemble and deliver mechanisms to manufacture MLI. We established a vision lab, which we called Astrovision, to enhance our computer vision operations. So I think that we've matured the company, my management, myself, to be a significant company by itself and has a value for our owners, which is SSTL US and SSTL.Global Holding. And I thought that this is the right time for me to move aside a bit and to shift it to the younger generation, to take the control, to bring new ideas, new approaches. And I must say that I'm very satisfied and happy that the company decided, with my recommendation, to choose someone from inside, from within the company, and to choose Arie Halsband, which joined me in 2016 already, to Effective Space, to be the managing director of SSTL Israel.
Okay, interesting. Do you think that a founder and a CEO of a company should always think about his successor and build this person from the beginning?
Well, no, it's every textbook will say that you need to bring a successor. Not everyone is doing so. But I think that that nobody can work by himself. Well, I am a strong believer that a team view is much stronger than one person view. That team decisions are much better. And I think that always had a good management at Effective Space and at SSTL Israel, and this is evident that we choose Ophir to be the managing director. So I think this is the right way to behave. If everyone is doing so, well, this is personal.
Okay, good. As a veteran of the space industry, classical and new, what tips can you give young people with ambition to start a business in the space industry, in Israel and globally?
So I think that opening a new startup, a new business. So my recommendations are global, not only for the spaces. That's a general recommendations. So first of all, if you want to do something, what is the problem that you are going to solve? Is there a problem that you are going to solve? So what is the problem? Second, is your solution is something that solves the problem or doesn't? So this is the main two questions that any entrepreneur that wants to open a company needs to answer himself. And the third one, does this solution apply to a big enough market? Because if it's a small market, you can't open a company on a small market. I saw many ideas that people say, okay, I have a great idea. What is the market? $1 million, $2 million. So I know how investors think. If you don't show a market of more than $1 billion, nobody talks to you. If it's a small market, find a company that will take the idea and take an existing something and evolve it with your idea. But if you want to make a new company to bring money for investors, you need to show a big enough market in order to succeed. This is the first, the three main recommendations. Now, a very big mistake that engineers are doing, that they are having a great idea and they are looking for the market. So this is the vice versa. First of all, you need to find the problem. What is the problem? And not what is the technical solution you have. Technical solution doesn't make a market. A market with a need, with a problem, needs technical solution. So this is a big mistake that engineers are used to do. So these are my advices.
Interesting. So now it's a shout out time. Can you share your views with the audience regarding an Israeli new space company that you think they should know about, of course, except Astroscale Israel?
Well, I would like to refrain from answering directly this question because there are many companies, many of them are personal friends. So I don't want to recommend someone all the others will be angry. I think there are many new companies in Israel and many people coming with new ideas. And this is great. When we started in 2012 and 13, there are, I think, less than 5 new space companies in Israel. So this is a great idea. And in general, in Israel or overall overseas, if someone opens a company, wants my advice, I'm open to help anyone that needs advice, and I'm here. You can contact me if someone needs advice, how to open a company and so on.
Great. Well, later on you can write or contact Arie or me, and we will make the connection. So if there's anyone out there thinking about establishing a new space company, let us know. Let's talk about 30 years from now, 2050. How do you see the Israel space ecosystem? What are the strong points? Where are we going to be in line with other world leaders? And what do you think will be in 30 years from now?
This is very difficult to predict, I must say. The pace of advancement in technology today, mainly in artificial intelligence, is so fast that nobody can say what will be in 5 years from now. So we just had acquainted with GPT, and now they have a new version of
4.5.
Yes. So and of course, AI will come into space, and nobody can say what will be in the 30 years. So I must say that I'm more bothered in what will be in the few years with our space ecosystem, if it will be isolated, because the atmosphere here, and space is a global industry, and space need to be a global industry, and we need strong connections with our colleagues overseas. And if we will be isolated, we will not flourish. This is for sure. We need to see what happened to the once glorious Russian space industry. After it had been isolated from the world, is actually declining. So I hope that the atmosphere here in Israel will continue to encourage a strong connection with the world that will allow us to continue and develop the space ecosystem in Israel. So this is my wish to us all.
Very, very strong words, and the message is clear.
Okay.
So, Arie, what are the next steps for you? I know for sure you are not going to stay on the beach every day, maybe few days, but not all of your days. And I'm sure that you are already working on your next endeavor. Am I right?
I'm not sure. I'm looking for options now. I reduced my position for 50% position. So I have some free time thinking. I'm still working at SSTL as advisor, as you said. And the future will tell what I'll do in the future.
Okay. That's a very politically correct answer, but I'm sure that this is not the last we'll hear from you, for sure.
Okay.
So that's from my side, and now I think we'll allow the audience to have the stage and ask questions. So Torsten, if you may.
Yes, I'm here. We have open positions, by the way, Arie, at SpaceWatch.Global, if that's something interesting to you. It's not so technically, but you can bring in all your vast knowledge and know-how into assessment of things and write about that and doing fun stuff like we do here today, which have a global impact, definitely. Yeah, our audience is very slow today. I'm not sure if you said everything, but yeah, usually they are more active. But Chris saved us. So, Shalom Ari, what would be your life and business advice for the next generations as they will make the next 10 to 30 years happen on their own way, nationally and globally?
I'm not sure I understood the question. What are my recommendations for people in the next 30 years?
Yeah, what would be your life and business advice for the next generation?
Well, first of all, have a good life. It's always a good and have a good balance between your private life and the business, which is must say this is not what I did. I had too many work hours, especially if I at work. And actually, when I left I started 50 Space, even though I did more, I worked 30% less. And because in a small company, they don't need to do so much, reporting and Excels and so on. So this is something that a burden that I didn't do in a small company. I didn't mention, by the way, during our talk. So I don't know what is the best way to. This is like a prophecy, and in Judaism, we say that after the second shrine was demolished, the prophecy was given to fools. I don't know if you heard it, but this is what we say in Hebrew. So I don't want to be a prophet, and I don't know what will be in 30 years. I think that the advancement is so quick that nobody can predict. I think that multidisciplined ways will come into space very strongly. Deep space, deep tech, AI and so on. For example, if I take what we are doing now at AstroScale, which is actually defining and approaching satellites. So we are now doing it in this discrete way. We're taking a picture and analyzing it strictly, but we already think how to do it in artificial intelligence, where you have a library of many thousands of images of satellites and so on, and approach it, because the amount of elements that change are vast. For example, the orientation that people coming from, the sun, the illumination, and so on. So this is not a discrete solution. This is just one example that I can manage. I can say.
I have another question. Do you think that in a few years from now, I'm going to open a chat GPT and ask, design me a constellation of LEO satellites for this and this mission, and I will get a spec?
I'm not an expert, first of all, but I think that AI will take routine works. So, for example, when I started to work as an engineer, people still already solved equations with a pencil, and then came the MATLAB. And I remember that in the 80s, I think it was, no, it was the 90s. Anyway, we had a new engineer doing finite element, and the professor coming from Leningrad, very distinguished professor, and he was solving the equations with a pencil, and and they made a competition. Who will solve the problem quicker? And you can guess who solved it quicker. The young engineer solved it quicker, of course, with the MATLAB. So I think that AI will do all routine work. For example, designing. For today, people are giving dimensions in CAD. It takes them days and days and weeks to do dimensions and so on. I'm sure that CAD will do it by itself. AI will do it by itself very quickly. And all you need to do is then to check them. So I think that this is a simple task, by the way. So we cannot predict what will be in the future and who will do what. This is very difficult to predict.
Great. Well, time will tell, I guess.
Yes.
I'm still waiting for, everybody's talking about the first fully 3D printed spacecraft. I'm waiting for the first fully AI designed and 3D printed spacecraft. So from an idea to product.
Space is very slow. People are talking about modular spacecraft for 30 years. There's still no one real modular spacecraft that I know. So space is very slow. Very, very, let's say, conservative area. But I'm sure that AI will take a major part in the future.
Sounds like nuclear fusion, which is on the horizon for the last decades, again and again and again.
Well, now it's closer than ever, so maybe the pace will increase.
Yes.
So if we have no further questions.
Oh, we don't have questions from the audience. They're all satisfied and happy, obviously.
That's great.
Or too shy.
Yes.
So I thank you very much for taking the time and joining us. It was a pleasure. And on a personal note, it was also a pleasure being along your side and some of the milestones that we discussed. And as I said, I'm waiting to hear what is your new venture.
Yes, thank you very much, Meidad, for inviting me and the opportunity to talk here. And I would like to say that we are all privileged to be part of a very exciting industry and doing such interesting stuff in our life. Thank you very much.
And back to you, Thorsten.
Great. So before we say goodbye, let me remind you of a few upcoming events tonight. So in a few hours, in 3 hours actually, we will see the next space bar by the Astro Agency. And I think they talk about today about communication or about the space sector. So they have Max Alexander there, and then it's a great format, and it's something to hang out. Then on the 5th next week, we will have 2 space cafes only due to the Easter break. On the 5th, we will have the next Space Café Italy by Dr. Amagatti in Italian language. And on the 6th, we have our first Space Café Austria by Sabine Pongruber. So Austria is back, but they will do their conversation in English with Christian Aubrecht from ESA. Then a week later, in my next Space Café 33 Minutes, I will have Eloise and Christoph, and they will talk about the new Lunar Policy Handbook, which just recently, on Monday, actually was released during the legal subcommittee of UN Copius in Vienna. And on the 12th of April, we will have our first Space Café Poland by wonderful Łukasz Wilczynski. So Poland is on our map now as well. Then later in this week, we will go to the Space Symposium. So if you are around in Colorado Springs, make a shoot out to us and we have a chat. That would be lovely to meet you all. So, and now doing it all on my own today. You will find all these events are on Eventbrite. As always, mentioned before, would like to hear your feedback. So please check in with us on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on whatever. Send us a pitch in or Morse or something over. As always, we appreciate all of that from you. Don't forget to sign up to our daily and bi-weekly newsletters. And if you like to treat yourself with something special, become a real space watcher. I really can encourage you to make this. Thank you all for your interest today. Toda rabba. Thank you, Meidad. Thank you, Arie, for hosting that inspiring talk. And yeah, it was great. And to listen to that and to be part of it. Thanks for the audience. Thanks for joining us. I want to see you in the next week in our future event. And in the meantime, visit our website and follow us on social media. And don't forget to become a space watcher. And I can tell you there's so much to explore on our website, so much podcasts, so much radio, so we can fill your weekend very easily. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.